One man has been living in exile in Africa for 45 years as a fugitive from justice.
And as 41 Action News investigator Andy Alcock shows us, there's a new push to bring the Kansas City Black Panther founder, Pete O'Neill, home.
In the East African nation of Tanzania, in the shadow of Mount Kilimanjaro, you can see zebras and elephants roaming freely. You can also discover something you might not expect: an American black panther. In his documentary, A Panther in Africa, Aaron Matthews tells the story of Kansas City Black Panther Party founder Pete O'Neill.
The Black Panther Party is officially in Kansas City.
50 years ago, the Panthers were formed in California as a militia group to protect African Americans from police.
Police surrounded the group and finally disarmed and arrested them.
In 1967, they gained notoriety when, armed and dressed in their characteristic black berets, the Panthers marched into the California state capitol.
It started out as self-defense, but then we started seeing all the different things that needed to be addressed.
Shortly after O'Neill formed the Kansas City Panthers, his future wife Charlotte joined as an 18-year-old.
After I met him, after I saw the commitment that he had to uplift the community, it was over for me. That's what I wanted to do in life.
That service included feeding hundreds of children breakfast each morning. Kansas City St. Mark's Church, where we spoke to Charlotte, was one of the locations. In 1969, police arrested Pete for bringing a shotgun from Kansas to Missouri. Even though he wasn't found with a weapon, this picture helped convict him. A judge sentenced him to 4 years in federal prison.
The only reason he was charged with that is because he was the leader of the Black Panther Party.
Concerned he might be killed while in custody, instead of appealing his case, O'Neill and his young wife fled the country, ultimately winding up in Tanzania, where they've lived since 1972.
It's no joke being in exile. You know, it isn't.
I see the way people revere him over in Africa, and he's just a great person.
In his 2012 book, Case for a Pardon, former Kansas City Star reporter Steve Penn says O'Neill should be judged by his whole life, including decades of public service in Africa, providing food, water, shelter, education, and transportation to locals, and visiting Americans, as well as adopting 23 Tanzanian children.
You would need to tell the whole story. You know, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Penn does not shy away from the bad or the ugly in his book, including a church riot, a hateful newspaper article about a murdered Kansas City police officer, and O'Neill's 1970 interview discussing the possibility of killing Missouri Congressman Richard Eichord, who chaired a committee investigating the Panthers.
I would like very much to shoot my way into the House of Representatives and get this racist lion Eichord's head.
If that's how I thought then, it's not a reflection of how I feel now.
I don't want anybody to believe that I think Pete was some kind of saint. Pete made mistakes. Most of them were big verbal mistakes.
O'Neill's cousin, Congressman Emanuel Cleaver, has been trying to get him a pardon for 25 years.
Fingers crossed.
He's now petitioning the outgoing Obama administration.
This is it. President Obama is the last chance.
I represent him, but it'd be better if he could come here and represent himself.
The 75-year-old O'Neill has made it clear his life is now in Tanzania, but he'd like to visit family, including his 95-year-old mother, who's now in a Kansas City nursing home, and children he hasn't seen in more than 40 years. But there's no timetable or guarantee the Obama administration will take up his case. I'm investigator Andy Alcock, 41 Action News.
Well, if you have a tip for our investigators,